9:17. All right, here we go. All right, we'll call to order at 9:17. So, first agenda item, public comment. Andreas, would you like to read us in, please?
Please be advised, comments must be kept at 3 minutes or less, as citizens may comment with regard to items on the agenda or pertaining to AEDC policies, programs, or services. As for items not on the agenda, the AEDC board may not discuss or take action on the issue, but may make statements of text beside an existing policy, request an item to be placed on a future agenda, or may refer a question to staff.
All right, thank you. Is there any public comment this morning?
Hey guys, Tim Benson, Amarillo. Back here again. Would like to discuss, it's not on the agenda, I see, about Plant AS. Do we have an update on that, Doug?
Not that I can share
Can
currently.
we put that on the agenda to discuss that? We deeded that property to a company 2 years ago and they've not broke ground. I wanna know what the update is. Are we gonna get that property back? How much it's gonna cost? Attorney fees to get that back? Because nothing's being done out there. There's no dirt work. So I like that brought up. The other thing is I saw on the agenda, there's 2 items on there for some property that you guys want to purchase on the south and north side of town. Just curious about that. You guys, one thing, the main reason we've been coming up here, you guys probably want to know that. I'll tell you, the main reason we've been coming up here, me personally, started with a property transaction that the EDC did, the Commerce Building. You guys remember that? That's why I'm here. I just don't like the property deals that they've done in the past. But this deal with the plant company, I'd really like that put on the next agenda. So thanks for your time.
Good. Hi. Come on up.
Sorry about the patch. I had 3 retina surgeries in 2 months. And I'd like to hand why I'm here today to the board. Randy,
Sir, would you mind giving
got
us
one.
your
If you
name?
could hand-
Sir, would you mind giving us your name for the record?
Okay, yeah. My name's Andrew Rosenberg, and I live in Amarillo, Texas, on Avondale, and I'm managing partner of the Big Texan RV Ranch. And I'm here today to talk about the inappropriate behavior of an EDC board member, Randy Birkin, acting unbecoming of his position and scaring business away. Gentlemen, I am the owner of 20 residential properties and several commercial properties in Amarillo. I am the operating partner of the Big Texan RV Ranch and Amarillo by Morning RV Park, Pipeline Grill in Baytown, Midland Odessa RV Park, Woodland Park Condominiums, Washabiria Laundromats, 2 major shopping centers with over 20 national tenants, rent houses in Fredericksburg, Texas, Vineyard Crossing Apartments in Fredericksburg, Texas, and I am a resident of Amarillo for many years. I graduated college in 1969 and moved to Amarillo in 1971 and sold cars for Plain Chevrolet while I was waiting to get a territory with Levi Strauss, who I worked for in 6 years in sales as a account executive and handled Texas, northern Texas, southern Colorado, New Mexico, and Oklahoma. I love Amarillo and could live anywhere. I currently employ well over 100 people in the state of Texas. I am here today for two reasons. One, to commend you on a 4.1% unemployment rate, which is probably the lowest in the state, with the state average being 4.4%. And those numbers are given by the U.S. Statistics of Labor. Also, to talk to you members about a vicious attack on my personal business, friends, family, health, and death with profanity, and that I look like a homeless bum. In 2025, we had a terrible windstorm hit Vega, Texas. As you know, the wind in Texas. It's documented between 80 and 100 miles per hour. The storm took out two signs for the Big Texan RV Ranch lease from Randy Burkett, and they were torn up. Randy Burkett, an AEDC member, was notified about these signs and failed to do anything about this. At a later date, a third sign was ruined in late 25, and Randy Burkett was notified.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, public comment is 3 minutes, so you're gonna have to wrap it up.
Okay, he said he could not fix the signs because they were more than 40% destroyed, and the Texas Highway Department they were 50 feet apart, and they were grandfathered, and they had to be 1,500 feet. In July of 26.
Mr. Rosenberg, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, this sounds like a matter between you and Mr. Burkett.
Oh, no, it's actually,
Well, I hear you. but
it's
this
not,
is
it's on professional behavior of a board member. It's profanity to a business member, and it doesn't belong on an ECDC board that represents Amarillo, Texas, and it doesn't belong in this.
And you've made that clear, you've made your opinion clear, and that's the best way to do it.
Well, I have it documented. It's, okay, the profanity, the insults, the non-fixing the sign, and when you ask.
Why don't you take a seat, Mr. Rosenberg? It's 3 minutes.
Excuse me, I have the floor.
No.
No.
You don't? Okay, go ahead. You didn't interrupt me, go ahead.
We're finished here,
Okay. All right,
thank you.
you're welcome. And I'm sorry that you don't want to hear about the unprofessional behavior of one of your members. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, that will conclude, agenda item number 2. I'd like to make a change or recommended change to the order of our agenda. We'll go ahead and review and approve the minutes, but then I'd like to move the audit, report and review ahead of executive session. All right, so agenda item number 3, discuss, consider, and take appropriate action on the minutes of the July 9th, 2026 Board of Directors meeting. I move we approve. Second. Any opposed? Motion passes. All right. So that is, we're gonna move, number 5, auditor presentation of the 2025 annual EDC audit, discuss, consider, and take appropriate action on the 2025 EDC budget.
Audit.
Audit, I'm sorry. Okay.
It's in your folders under tab 5. Two-sided.
It's still quite, still quite large.
It is quite large.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, members of the board. My name is Joel Perez. I'm a principal with CLA. And this morning, I am here to present you with the results for the September 30, 2025 audited financial statements results. You have two deliverables. You alluded to one of them, the thicker one of the two. To be precise, about 90 pages long, and I'm not gonna go through every single one of them, but you have two deliverables. You have the independent auditor's report, which is the first one, and then the, what we refer to as the governance communication. That's the letter to the board, regarding the results of the audit. I'm gonna take you through some highlights of just the overall results of the audit. The financial statements are management's financial statements, which were provided to us to conduct the audit. And, if there's any questions on those deliverables that you may want me to kind of dig in a little deeper, let me know, and I'll try to explain those. But otherwise, I'll keep it high level and yield to you on any details you want to get into. That 90-page report, really only page, the first and second page is what belongs to CLA, and I'm gonna focus on that. That's on page, you're looking at the page number, that's page number 1 and number 2. The report identifies the period that we're auditing. As I mentioned earlier, the audit is for the year ending September 30, 2025. And the opinion that we're issuing in the financial statements is, the technical term is an unmodified opinion. Think of it as a clean bill of health. That's the highest level of assurance that as an independent auditor we can issue on the financial statements. That report will take you through, the basis of our opinion and the standards that we follow, which are identified in that report as auditing standards generally accepted in the U.S. The report also addresses in other matters, under the other matters paragraph, a reference to the September 30, 2024 financial statements. Those financial statements are included in this report, but we're making a note that those were audited by a different firm. Nonetheless, we're referring to them here, and because management included those in this report. That report also identifies management's responsibilities and as well as the auditor's responsibilities, just kind of highlighting to the readers each side's responsibilities. We come in as an independent party and make assessments and decide the approach based on the risk that we identify to the financial statements. Those matters are also delineated within those couple paragraphs. And then on the third page, really, this page, the last page, number 3, is called, it's required supplementary information. That section of the financial statements, it's unaudited. However, the accounting pronouncements that the corporation reports under requires that information to be included in the financial statements. And then the other information also included in here at the request of management is some of the tables bearing the information, tables 1 through 6, that information is also unaudited. So that's the audit report, and that's followed by a management discussion and analysis, about a 3, 4, 5 page letter. If I only had 5 minutes to spend on this 90-page report, I would read that letter. It's a letter that is intended to highlight the results of the audit that identifies fluctuations between one fiscal year and another fiscal year. It also talks about any debt activities, long-term debt activities, as well as capital assets. And then it brings in some of the budgetary schedules in comparison and analysis that are included within the financial statement. So if for anybody that just gets limited time on reviewing the financial statements, I would encourage you to review this 5-pager. Should give you a pretty good picture of where you landed for the year end. So that letter is followed by your financial statements, statement of net position. Without going into the details, just kind of high level. You close the year with current assets. I'm going to talk to them in total versus the operating fund. Those are consistent of the operating fund and the project fund. We had 117 million, in current assets, and then some restricted assets of 5.1. Total assets for the year ending, including, total assets for the year end, for the year ending, is closed in at about 160 million. You add in your deferred outflow or resources, which are representative of your OPEB, basically your pension and other post-employment benefit activities that are deferred according to the standards you report. That's about $50,000. So the next page highlights the liabilities. Current liabilities for the year ending were at 20 million, 0.6. The biggest component in there, is really some due to other funds, as well as the some grants payable and bonds payable. The current maturities that related to those liabilities are included within that section. Other liabilities closed at 29.8 million for a total liabilities as of year end of $50.6 million. Difference between your assets, your liabilities, the term is net position in the governmental accounting world. Think of it as the equity, in the commercial side of business. You closed the year at about, net position was $106 million, the majority of that is you're sitting in a pretty healthy position. There's three components of net position. That's your net investment in your capital assets, your infrastructure. $6.9 million. You had some restricted net position, some restricted dollars that is primarily related to your debt service. That closed at $5 million, and the remaining amount, which is almost $95 million, is your unrestricted net position. Think of it as the amount that is free, clear, and available for operations. Questions, comments before I move to the income statement?
So the unrestricted, that includes cash and.
So it's not your cash. It's really the net of your cash, investments, anything relating with your assets minus your liabilities, your obligations. That is the remaining net position. So, if I had to break it into a very level of detail, you could argue that, yeah, that's consistent of cash and receivables that you've not collected and therefore not yet in the bank. But essentially the difference between what you own and what you owe. You bet. The statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in net position is really the income statement for the year. Total operating revenues were at $32.8 million. Considering in comparison to your operating expenses of 13.9, your operating income was closed in at about $18.9 million. And you had some non-operating revenues in the tune of about $144,000 for an overall change in net position. Think of it as net income of $19 million. Then the last statement is your statement of cash flows. This is really stripping out all of the non-cash transactions that are included in that income statement. It's a good highlighting here in the sense that your cash from operations, when you strip out all the non-cash items your operation generated about $18.8 million. It's a pretty good position to be in. You also had some financing activities, primarily relating to some of the borrowings that you conducted during the year. $21.5 million is the amount that you're reporting in as of year end, and then some other investing activities netted at about $7.5 million. That's basically some maturities of your investments and some reinvestment of those dollars for a net investing activity of $7.5 million. So all in all, you close the year with about $65 million of cash. So that's the financial statements, very high level. The rest of the sections of this report are your notes. Those are just providing a lot more narrative and detail regarding some of the numbers that you're presenting in your financial statements. So I won't cover those. And then all the supplementary information that require and the other information included behind the notes. Questions, comments on the financial statement before I cover the governance debt?
Yeah, I have, I guess it'd be appropriate time to ask. Probably may cover it, but in the notes, I believe the total liabilities are stated at 98 million or around 100. Versus here it's 50, and I assume the difference is like the project liabilities that, you know, we're looking at in the future. So, or that are, you know, I don't wanna say unearned.
Can you point me to that note on, that you've seen and the note disclosures?
There's I don't have it highlighted in here. On the financials, it's clearly say 50 million.
46.5.
What page are you on, Elliot?
Well, I'm on 18, and our total, shows the total liabilities at 50 million. And I thought, reviewing somewhere in the notes, it said our total,
Oh, okay, the total of both the project fund and the operating fund, total liabilities, okay, yep.
So
Is there not
that's
enough-
50 per the financial statements. I'm curious where you're getting the 100 million from.
that's a great question. I may have to come back, or.
You can look at it and call me, I mean, if anything, but let me see if I can find it here real quick. It's saying in the notes, right?
Yes,
Yeah, I'm gonna find it for you.
is that?
It is in here, but those are not included as a liability on our balance sheet, because they're,
So conduit debt?
they haven't earned it yet.
Yeah, that.
And so it's not even
Oh, you're talking about
payable.
commitments.
Yes, our commitments of
okay.
93 million, that's correct, that's what he's
Okay,
talking about.
So if you, let me get to that note, so I don't misspeak, give me a second.
And if you could point us to where that is, 'cause
So your commitment, no disclosure is note 16, starts on page 62.
Ooh, I was a long way
That's
away.
right. So at 9/30/2025, the AEDC had outstanding commitments to make grants or extended credit yet of approximately $98.7 million. I believe that's the number you're referring
Yes,
to?
that's it.
Okay, so those numbers are required by the accounting standards to report under to be identified to the readers in your financial statements. It's not necessarily an obligation under accounting principles of the corporation, but it's commitments that you have entered into, and by contractual requirements are obligated in some way, shape, or form in the future. But as of the year end, you did not owe anything.
It's almost,
if
it's almost
everybody
a,
performed, if every deal
yeah,
performed.
it's
Yes.
almost a contingent liability as opposed to something that would show up on our balance sheet.
Which I don't know over time if we have like a percentage of performance, you know, so say there's a
No,
100
we-
million in
yeah.
total commitments, 50% of those are met or 30
No,
or
we
whatever.
do not have
Yeah.
that number for sure, yeah.
Question? You made me think about it.
Well, I was hoping, I was like, didn't dream it or something, so.
We're gonna, let's play Stump the Auditor.
Yeah, thank you.
I think maybe the best is let you finish and then maybe there's some other questions.
Well, I'm done with the financial statements. I wanna switch over to the governance communication. Would you like me to do that and then I'll
Yes,
address
yes,
questions?
please.
Okay, good.
It's the last 3 pages in that section. Sorry.
You good?
Yeah.
Let's give him some time to get. It's a letter with our logo. I think that's it, yes. Everybody there? Okay, so this is the governance communication. So the audit standards require that as your independent auditors, when there's a governing board, that we establish communication with you guys and report to you upon the completion of the audit. This letter is really just highlighting, to break it down, it identifies the significant accounting policies. It asks us to consider and communicate to you whether there were any significant changes or modifications to your accounting policies. During the year, you adopted 2 new pronouncements, GASB 101 and GASB 102, which required the big one being your the accounting and reporting for compensated absences. Those new accounting pronouncements and policies are appropriately reflected in financial statements in accordance with those new pronouncements. It also identifies the accounting estimates that we identified as part of the financial statement audit. The main one being the net pension liability related to your pension retirement system that you participate in, as well as your net other post-employment benefit liability. Those were the two significant estimates. There's different criteria that is required by the accounting pronouncements that it requires that all that criteria and the components that bring together that liability are not actual information. They're subject to estimates by your actuary, in the way they're compiling those estimates. So there's actually what we call in the other world an accounting specialist that goes into, i.e. your actuary, in helping management compute that liability. So that's why those are identified here as significant estimates in your financial statements. The next page just highlights if there are any significant or unusual transactions, which we did not identify any. It also highlights whether there is any difficulties of us conducting the audit and working with management. Happy to report full cooperation and transparency. No such issues were identified. It also asks us to communicate to you any uncorrected misstatements. Those are rather trivial differences that we identify that don't do anything to your financial statements from a materiality or significant perspective. Those are identified here in the schedule. Those have been reviewed by management and us and agree that there was no impact to your financial statements. Happy to report there was also no significant adjustments that we proposed to management as a result of the procedures performed. So there's also a management representation letter that we obtained from management upon issuance of the audit report, basically highlighting, documenting their representation to us, that they've provided us everything that we requested to the best of their knowledge, no significant issues or matters related to that information. And it also, I talked earlier about the required supplementary information and the other information included in your annual report. This letter also references to that information, basically highlighting that it's required by the RSI, the required supplementary information required by the accounting standards, but it's unaudited information. And then management also dropped in some other schedules that are also unaudited within your financial statements. So that's the governance communication, just a lot more short and sweet and to the point of the letter. So at this point, I'll open it up for any questions the board might have.
Well, thank you for that. I will just cut a few random questions to educate myself a little bit. So your engagement, is this on an RFP basis, did we hire this firm through the EDC or through the city of Amarillo?
Through the city of Amarillo.
That's how it's procured, so to speak. And then one thing that I thought of as you were presenting this letter, is this how the engagement usually works with the board? Because I don't think any of the board members had any conversations with you or your firm prior to this meeting. Is that normal, customary, or in the future would we expect that to be different?
Every board is different. We work with management and report to you at the end of the day. So we coordinate with management the approach. We coordinate with management and communication, and determine the approach based on those discussions. However, at the end of the engagement, we come in front of you, deliver the results, and make ourselves available. What I like to do, is perhaps in collaboration with management at the beginning of fiscal year 26 audit, get in front of you or give you at least an opportunity to have that conversation with us. We also welcome that, if the board is open to that. The conversations are really more about, just from the governance lens, looking at the financial statements, timeliness, accuracy, concerns from the board's perspective that we should be aware of. That's the nature of the conversation, that we typically like to have upon the beginning of the engagement.
Okay. And how long, is this a 2-year, 3-year commitment with your firm?
It's a 5-year commitment.
5 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I personally would welcome, conversation periodically or you know, not to burden you or your time, but I think some input from the board would be
Sure.
useful and productive going forward, so.
I welcome that as well, so we'll certainly coordinate that with, we work through,
You will.
we'll work through you on this
Yeah.
communication.
So this year, it's very different. I have not had any communications with the audit firm either. So they work strictly through our fiscal agent, and really that is our fiscal agent's job, is to present this information to the auditor. But yeah, very different firm.
Great.
And this being our first year, we're coming in and trying to learn the approach that you're used to, you know,
Right.
and that you're expecting. So, like I said, I also welcome that, and we'll coordinate with you to make sure that, you know, perhaps an entrance conference, you know, with management, and then, you know, some level of communication with the board, you know. At the beginning of the engagement, I like informing the board via this similar setting or one-on-one meetings that the audit has started, you know, and kind of go through, you know, some of the risks that we've identified, and kind of bring them into that cadence of communication that we kind of carry on throughout the engagement. So just to keep you guys also in the loop, you know.
Yeah, I think that'd be helpful and productive, so appreciate it. And again, this is not coming from any question or concern. Again, it's more to educate
It's healthy.
at least me and the rest of the board on the process and what to expect going forward, so. Obviously, everyone, I hope, you know, everyone spent some time on it. Really solid results and findings, so appreciate the work. I do wanna go back just for a minute, back to this, call it, contingent commitments and versus what you're seeing in current assets, current liabilities, a little bit back to Randy's question. I mean, it looks to be a healthy ratio between current assets, current liabilities, and overall. I mean, I don't know if you have, I didn't notice any like benchmarks, like in commercial audits, you typically have industry level benchmarks. I don't know if there's benchmarks in place for government entities such as ours, or you don't know liquidity ratios and
Right,
those things ought
yeah,
to be.
I mean, I can, let me just kind of high level here. Your working capital for 25, you had 117 million in current assets in relation to 20 million in current liabilities. That's pretty healthy working capital ratio.
That's better than I've ever operated, so.
You and I both, right? So,
Anybody else do that?
so if I look at that, that's a strong financial indicator. The other item that I highlighted to you earlier was your net position, right? So you're sitting at about 160 of it as your equity, of which 95 million is unrestricted in our world, in the government world, in the commercial world. That's, excuse me, in the government accounting and reporting world, that's a very healthy net position, unrestricted net position to be in. I report to a lot of governments and municipalities, and they're not always sitting in that nice.
Even
nice.
for an economic development.
Well, you guys are different, because you guys are almost, you know, a for-profit reporting under a government. So, you know, so yes, you will see this in a lot more economic development corporations, just because of the nature of your operations, how you set up and structure. So
you feel like our equity position from an economic development corp is good relative to other benchmarks?
well, I'm gonna speak to it from the GASB accounting and reporting world. I'm not gonna compare it to other economic development corporations. I don't wanna put myself in that situation. But I will tell you, just looking at your financial statements, when we're reporting 95 million in unrestricted net position, that's a strong indicator to be at. And then I bring in your working capital, another strong indicator. You want a third and a fourth one, go to obviously your net income was 18, your operating income was 18.9, and you closed the year at 19 million in income. If I switch over to your statement of cash flow statements, I mentioned earlier, your cash flow from operating activities brought in $18.8 million. Okay, I mean, those are the indicators that I look at when I'm reading the financial statements. How do we do? You know, those are the numbers that I'm looking to, you know. So.
Yeah, Yeah, obviously as what is stated and reported on, that looks good. That number sticks out as to like a percentage of performance, just to make sure that we're appropriately managing reserves, cash flow, and things like that. Those future commitments, but we know they're not gonna be able to deliver 100% of those, so I don't know if that's 50 or what, but even if it were 50, we're well ahead of the game there. So,
Well, that,
okay. Look through my note, I've probably covered. I know there are material and in effect, the misstatements, and not that happens, I mean, it's technically not an EDC, it's our fiduciary, the city of Amarillo. I mean, that's where that communication and those, are these gonna be journal entries that are made ultimately, or how do they get into?
Let me make sure I understand your question. You're talking about the uncorrection statements?
Correct.
Okay, so those, let me go to that page. It's really the last page on
Yes, yeah.
that in your package.
Very
So
small.
these
and
were
immaterial.
nominal amounts. Keep in mind, when we conduct the audit and come in and design the audit approach, it's not designed for us to look at every single item. You know, we would be here the whole year.
We
and
couldn't afford it.
Right, and it would not be affordable. So the audit standards require us to identify your significant accounts and to identify the risk. And based on that, we design the audit approach, the procedures we're gonna perform over those significant accounts and what procedures we're gonna perform to address the risk. As we go through that approach and the procedures, we're gonna come across variances, differences, errors that, based on the approach that we design, are insignificant to the financial statements. That's why our opinion says they're reasonably stated. I'm not saying they're 100% stated, it's reasonably stated because based on the approach, you know. So to answer your question specifically, these are adjustments that, because they're immaterial, management elected not to post them, and we agree with them. So they're not gonna be posted later, the differences were insignificant.
Okay. And they also, they seem to be related to a specific GASB
101.
change or pronouncement.
Mhm.
Again, it's nothing really, doesn't seem operational, it's just a change.
So the accounting pronouncement changed and it brought in a different level of reporting. In this case, the difference between the old and the new reporting was not significant.
I'll stop there, I don't want to. I can.
You
I
stopped
can
me
talk-
once already,
I can
so
talk
I'm
about,
not
I
even-
can talk about this a long time. So, but I would just reiterate, it's very, very good work, very solid reporting, thank you. Look forward to working with you and your firm in the future, so. And then, if there's no other questions, what actions we just need to accept and
Yes, sir.
approve the audit as stated, if that's
That-
our,
that is
that's
correct.
our goal here, okay. So, motion. Well, yeah, if there's no other questions, I would certainly take a motion to.
The audit as presented. I'll make that motion. I'll make a motion to accept the audit as presented by.
COA. Second. Randy, was that a second? Yeah, second, Randy, any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Appreciate it. All right.
Thank you
very much.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we go back, lead next on our agenda, we're gonna head into executive session. Andres, would you like to read it, please?
Deliberation regarding economic development negotiations in accordance with the Open Meeting Act Section 551.087. Discussion regarding commercial or financial information received from a business prospect and/or to deliberate the offer of a financial or other incentive to a business prospect. Project number 220903, crop production. Project number 250801, manufacturing. Project number 250502, information. And we're going into point B, deliberate purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. If deliberation in an open meeting would have a detrimental effect on the position of the governmental body in negotiations with a third person in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Section 551.072. Potential purchase of real property located in the southwest quadrant of the city of potential purchase of real property located in the northeast quadrant of the city of Amarillo.
Okay, thank you, Andreas. So we will be in executive session at 10:58 a.m.
It's working.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. I know it's patience. Okay, we will continue on with our agenda. We covered number 5 earlier. We're now on agenda item number 6. Discuss, consider, and take appropriate action on approval of the, for the year, operating year 26 and 27, the Amarillo East budget. And I'll just make just a quick opening remark, maybe somewhat of a reminder. We established a committee, budget committee from the board roughly 45, 60 days ago. That committee was Dean Crump and myself. We worked with the staff, going through crafting a budget based on those recommendations, going through answering a significant amount of questions, etc. But all that to say is we, and I'm sorry, the budget, I believe, was delivered to the board roughly a week and a half ago, roughly. So all the board has had time with the budget, and we look forward to good, healthy discussion and conversation around that topic. And also, everyone will notice that Dean had a prior commitment to leave, which is fine. We have a quorum, but also he was on the committee, and all of his questions have been, answered or resolved. So I'll stop there, and I'm not sure staff-wise who's, would lead us into this discussion. Andreas?
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank the budget committee. I think we had a good discussion, and you also had the idea that we bring more narrative to the numbers, and that's maybe how I'd like to get started. If you don't mind, Holly has prepared where we're going this year, so we're getting more out. We're going to more trade shows. We're hiring at least one new person who's helping us to get more business to town, and we've got some numbers to put behind these activities.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes, this year a memo was included with your budget, so I can briefly go over that, but also happy to ask any questions with Andreas coming on board, and some comments and questions and discussions from not only our board but the budget committee. We had the opportunity to really reevaluate what this marketing budget does and what we've always done versus how has this industry changed. And so that's fully reflected in this memo. It goes from 700,000 last year to 2 million. That's a large jump, but we're including the community gateway signs in this. And then also a shift from traditional advertising to more proactive in what we're calling community competitiveness. We no longer want to sit on the sidelines as to the story that's being told of our community. We want to be an active partner in that, within the boundaries of what we can do as an economic development organization. We have 4 focuses that are reflected in here. First is supporting existing employers. So there's numbers out there, and I think the most broadly known one is that about 80% of our projects and growth in our community come from the people that are already investing in it. Those are your small operations, your large operations, but it's the natural growth that occurs. So we want to lean into supporting that even more than we already have. So ramping up those resources. And then, let's see, Paul had to step out too. He had actually a BRE event, an exciting ribbon cutting for one of our projects. So just ramping up those efforts. So that's reflected in growth in his section of the budget. Workforce and development, that's always been a pillar of ours, but we're really leaning into those programs. We have a program called Taking Root in Amarillo. Also, cut off of that is called Reroute, so we target people that are from the area to come back here. third pillar, business recruitment, which is what Andreas really focused on. We're changing this and also continuing the partnerships that we've always had. And community competitiveness is the last, that's really the major change. And I can go into in-depth questions on that, but I didn't know what direction you all wanted us to go.
Holly, how do you see, how in your word, how do you describe investing in community competitiveness? What you, in an elevator pitch, describe that shift in mindset.
For sure.
strategy, if you will.
So this would be year one that we're asking you to consider anything like this. But I can buy an advertisement in a magazine and it looks no different than a different city in a different state. We're all bragging about the same things, we're all saying the same stats. But it's really when you get someone to Amarillo that you sell them, that they understand why their company needs to be here, why our workforce is great. And so that's something we've always really tried to harp on. So this community competitiveness, in my vision, does this. Again, I don't know what it necessarily looks like, but that's the gateway signs. It's being proud of our community and improving things that we can market our community through. Is that an extra mowing so that something looks nicer when someone lands here? And I want our citizens to brag about Amarillo, and so if our organization can help that, then that's really high level of what we want to do here.
I appreciate the creative mindset, and I feel like if we don't explore and attempt to do new things, I mean, what's the definition of insanity? Is doing the same thing over and over, expecting.
What about mowing? Is that TxDOT's responsibility?
My understanding is we're working in concert with.
50-50.
Yeah.
The city, what the budget, city match. So sorry, city budget, DOT match.
And that's a very simple example, but I have had meetings with TxDOT. The city is also exploring those partnerships, expanding those. But if a client lands here and the weeds are taller than their car is, we look bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's where we go and if our money can be used for that, should be used for that, and it might not. But this is allowing staff to explore those opportunities. So this would be an ongoing conversation, but a direction that you allow us to head
You know,
in.
it seems like on the gateway signs, we'd asked that y'all go back to the Convention Visitors Council or whatever and ask them to pony up some money as well. Did that conversation ever take place?
Yes, sir, it did. We talked with a number of community partners, the Chamber, the CVB. We're also exploring this with the city. So they can explore that on a high level. I'm going to say they don't necessarily have the money that it would take like we do. It'd be a very small contribution compared to what it is going to take to get these off the ground. Don Tips is really leading this charge at the council level, and the city, from his standpoint, was willing to contribute, I think, up to $300,000. That's going to be reflected in their budget discussion, and so this is moving in partnership with the city.
Well, I was wondering how you got it down, because originally I thought we were talking around 700,000 or something. It's down to 175. Is that what the other partners participate?
No, that's not,
This is 700.
it's still 700.
Yeah, that number's changed.
Yeah, the 175 is more related to beautification efforts and.
I guess of the increase, 50% of the increase over last year's budget is the sign. Is that more of a one-time expenditure other than maintenance, or is that an ongoing expenditure? Or?
It would, in my opinion, it would be a one-time, but I did float a note in here that we don't want to pay for the majority of these and construct them and then they fall apart because no one was paying attention or budgeting for them, so I would
Nobody
like to.
mows around them, nobody waters the, whatever.
I think if we're gonna take the opportunity to construct these, that we need to also bear the responsibility of maintaining them so that that doesn't fall on someone else or fall aside. So I would want that to be
Yeah,
eventually.
Rundown signs worse than.
It is.
No sign at all,
Yes.
maybe.
So I think, that could stay as an initiative in the community competitiveness, for future years, but this large amount is a one-time thing. You can't build these all over. There are, state regulations, which we're partnering with TxDOT on. So you get one east, west, north, south.
I think the current city signs have been there for more than 50 years, so it's a one-time investment, but it will pay off for a longer time. We get many comments from citizens who love the city, who say the city signs look like they belong to a bank, and it's one of the few opportunities we have where people pass on the highways to make our city look nice or get the attention to the city. So that's our point.
So almost 7 years ago, in 5 locations, they approved by DOT.
Who approved, TxDOT?
Because we working, hoteliers working with the DOT.
Right.
That time Johnson and Blair approved 5 locations. 287.
So I know the hotelier's been concerned about that. I don't, from business that we're in, I mean, people come down I-40 because it's I-40 and
All the
they
time,
all stop here anyway.
hot tax collect $11 million. Maybe this year $13 million. So we request to the city, at least this 5 locations, just like $100,000 sign you put, just like every town, they have just like bricks and stone design, so no maintenance, and just LED lights, solar LED lights there. Because I-40 east and west, then, I can be seven south people, couple hotels, they just upset.
So I think that to keep this conversation on track, our job we're allocating a budget, dollars, and then specifics of execution, I think, are for another time before we get.
Just because we're agreeing to the budget doesn't mean we have to approve what is being spent. We still get approval on what it's gonna be spent for.
That's my understanding. Is that accurate or no?
Yeah, it depends on the category, but in this case, I think y'all would be involved in approving the design and what ultimately goes out on east and west. So you would certainly have another opportunity to discuss and approve what gets built. The dollars being allocated
Yes, correct.
I would
is
be
one
coming back
thing.
to you for
Yeah, that's
money.
right. So that,
We wouldn't be coming back to you for money, we'd be coming back to you for approval to build an actual specific design.
Are you talking about just on east and west I-40 or?
That's correct. No,
So 700,000 is just 2 sides,
well, it'd be more 300 from the city, 700 from us.
so $1 million for 2 sides?
That's correct.
well, and I don't know that that's determined. There's no specifications on a sign.
There is not. The designs that have been put forth, those, we didn't like that design, but the design that was done previously that had been approved by this body and then not approved by the city council, the total for it was 600 and,
Right, 7.1 or 700,000.
about $700,000.
This body approved that?
Yes, sir. You were not on this body when it approved it, but this body did approve that.
For $1 million, you could put digital signs out there. Less than that, that's just, I guess we can discuss it on a later day.
Well, I don't want you to, I think you should be, because I think that's a good distinction that we all need to understand as a board is we are giving staff, once we set the budget, that the money is fair game, so to speak.
So they could go
It's out
spend
there.
the
Yeah, it's
700.
out there. I mean, I just wanna be really clear about that. I mean, each of us have our own vote and say.
So if we vote yes on it,
I mean, there'll be 700,000 allocated to that project. And then, I don't wanna move past that too quickly, but to where Brian was going also, when we look at this budget and its increase, I think it's important to note that some of the marketing dollars were technically in projects, and we're moving all of the marketing spend into operations. You know, it's a reclass, those dollars have been allocated in the future, and we're just moving them into, you know, a different area of the financial statement.
To the tune of over $200,000.
It's almost $250,000.
Yeah.
That was in projects being spent in marketing. Now it's moving into operations.
So that would have been part of the, just kind of general marketing budget, or was that assigned to?
It was in projects previously, now it is in business development, and frankly, it just is where it belongs.
Yeah.
Previous leaders had it in other places, and not to get into that, but it really belongs in business development.
Some of them are like membership type expenses, course plans, things like that.
on those signs, have we got plans to where we can take bids on it, or have we taken bids on it yet?
Well, the design that was done, Western had an opinion of probable cost. But
I understand these signs, but what I'm saying is, has there been multiple bids, or is this gonna be granted to, you said Western?
yeah, Western was approved to design and build it.
You didn't take any other bids from other sign companies?
No, I wasn't actually involved in it at that juncture. But yes, that is how it was done. But it doesn't matter, it wasn't done. The money was not expended.
But we're agreeing to let you do it today if we vote yes on it.
That's correct, not that design though.
Just to clarify, like, it's a start over.
It's a reset, a total reset.
Would we be able, with this reset, to get bids on the sign?
I don't know, Randy, I presume so.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I'd wanna know that before I vote.
Yeah, certainly.
Start a tender process, that 3 companies or 5 companies or be more bid on it, and we see that we've got $700,000 in budget, but if it comes much lower, which would be also in our interest, maybe that's a good way.
So does the city retain control of the project, or is it an EDC project?
That, we do not know the answer to that yet. We were told initially by Grayson that if the city put money in it at all, that they would have to retain control of it. And if that's the case, then it certainly would be bid. It's required by state law. So, based on the loose information we have currently, the answer to Randy's question is, would it be bid? Yes, it would be. Because the city will have to take ownership of the process.
Oh, Randy, that's a lot of money.
Well, there are 2 signs, and not just that, there's been very little discussion with this board, other than we've seen plans, and we've been
Height
told.
restriction 15 feet only.
What's that?
DOD, the restriction of the height of the sign, no more than 15 feet.
Right.
This discussion has gone on for years, so I think we're asking whether or not
Y'all
you
want to do
wanna
it.
do this.
That's right.
I think that's really the question. And then if we do and what amount?
It's our project, even though the city's gonna have it, we're the ones paying the lion's share of it. I just thought there should be more discussion, especially making sure we got bids, not depending on the city to say, yeah, we may or we may not get bids. Just to let Western builders build it. That's happened quite a few times in this town, and I just think you may get a farm out of Dallas or somebody that says, we'll come in here and get them for 50 grand. You just don't know without asking, to just keep a green light.
So what, as some alternatives, not having answers to all the questions, would we put in the budget another amount, or is it an option, do we just exclude it from this budget?
We can.
Do an amendment once more details come around.
We can certainly do
All those
that.
things. But man, it's been, yeah, it's just been a lot, so.
So if we approve the budget, are we looking to approve it today? Are we voting on
Yes.
Yeah, we need to move the budget along. Now, it doesn't mean it has to stay in its current form.
Right. But we could back that 700 off and approve the rest of it with more discussions on the 700, or how are you gonna approach that?
I presume that's.
We could do it that way.
Do it that way.
I'm comfortable with that, but not just approve it. That's just me, but I'm one vote. You guys may go 4-1 on me, and I shut up. I just think 3-1.
What's the rest of the board, what other discussion?
The kind of building and attracting workforce, I know that's one of the, strategic reallocations. Kind of other specifics to, actions that y'all would be taking to building and attract, because I always see that, the workforce issue, that's always our issue.
It is.
We've gotta continually, I think if we invested $700,000 in building and attracting workforce, I'd probably vote for that quicker than I vote for a sign.
Right.
What's included for initiatives?
Very fair. So that kind of intertwines with BRE efforts as well. So our thought is to have an employer poll go out this year. What keeps you up at night? How are you losing employees? What can we do to actually help you rather than just saying we help you? So specific workforce things, we partner with AC, we partner with Workforce Solutions. I mentioned these Take Root and Reroute campaigns. So those are really our first effort to recruit people. And so we're gonna ramp those up, redoing website on those. So Annalisa actually asked the community, and we would ask employers for this. Do you know anyone that lived here? Like, where are they now? What are they doing? Can we target them? So we send out quarterly newsletters. This is what's going on in Amarillo. Did you hear? Cost of living. So a lot of people are living in larger cities and hopefully finding out that it's not that great. So we're teaching them and trying to continue repeating, hey, move back to Amarillo, consider that. And so those efforts are ongoing. We also have a intern experience over the summer. And so companies can sign up their interns, or interns can sign up on their own for free. And I don't know if you're prepared to give numbers on that.
Actually, I am. This year we had 64 total registered interns, with about 15 companies participating, with new companies participating this year, like the Fairleigh Group, United Way, and Amarillo Angels signed up their interns as well. And we had, 4 events this year, and I have been talking about creating an additional event that would focus on arts and education here in Amarillo.
So this program hopefully targets those kids when they're young, when they're here thinking about their careers, they're interning somewhere and living here for the summer, and so we get them out and show them how fun the Amarillo community can be, to think about it if now you're going back to college and you're getting a job. maybe apply here through that internship you had. And that feeds into quality of place. We're hearing that more and more. So all of this intertwines into moving in a new direction.
What dollars do we spend with, Emerald College and Amtech on their workforce programs?
So typically in projects, we would go after a Texas Workforce Commission grant, and so that's allocated by the state, and we match that. We bring those to you when dollars are available and approve that as a project. And that is the school specifically asking for something in CTE training. I think most recently Amtech received a flight simulator, which correlates into employment with Bell. And so those are available every other year. I'm looking at
Yeah,
Doug.
pretty much. So that's high demand job training grants is what that is through Texas Workforce Commission. That was 2 years ago, and then this past year, actually, that just got funded. AISD got some enhancements to some machining lathes that they have that train students. And so it was an enhancement of part of the program that they already have, but allowed additional capabilities on those machines. So generally speaking, we divide that money up amongst the 5 school districts that are in our community. So each of those has a career and technical education program. Some of it's welding, some of it's healthcare, some of it's AISD has a plethora of things that they can do through Amtech. And so generally speaking, we're supporting those schools in the technology that they need to be able to train the students in their CTE programs. So that's our primary way to do that. With Amarillo College, we've done a number of projects over the years. Most recently would be the Innovation Outpost project, and we're still under an agreement with them. We pay them every year, and it's $3 million over 5 years that they receive from us that help pay for that facility's rehabilitation and remodel, I guess, so that they could deliver career training out of that Innovation Outpost facility. So yeah, Amarillo College is even eligible for high demand job training grants. And they have a tendency to be pretty active in the grant space to fund their programs.
Kind of to that question, this marketing budget that's pulled out, it's still in our operations. This is kind of our day in, day out, what staff is doing, what our strategic plan and initiatives from Andreas are. That's aside from the project fund, which we also can do workforce things like what you're asking that are a larger impact and more specific to entities and things like that.
So a quick, another technical question about the budget, let's say as it's presented in marketing is $2 million, and there's these subcategories. How finite is it on, it's 2 million, and it doesn't necessarily have to follow these categories?
Actually, it does, yeah.
So these
Based on our new
subcategories are-
bylaws,
Yeah,
I've
those,
gotta stick to these subcategories.
Okay.
yeah, so not the individual line item in that subcategory, but in those subcategories, that's what we're limited to.
These subcategories
Yes, sir.
of the budget. And then if there's the other thing to note that I take comfort in is we establish a budget, and if any of these categories and subcategories are heading over, it's a stop.
It's a hard stop.
We have to address it in some way, so, okay.
All right, flip my last question. Okay, on the 700 for the signs, let's say we back that off, we approve $1.3 million budget today, or whatever we end up doing. Can you go into that $1.3 million and pay the 700?
No,
I
sir.
don't think we could, no.
No, there would not be room even in that category to be able to do that. There's only $570,000 left in that category after you take out the 700. So there's not even room for it. And we wouldn't do that anyway because there's other things we pay for out of that subcategory.
I wanna go on record, I'm not against these signs, I'm all for it. Signs coming in from all directions, it's a cost thing. Yeah, who knows if there's gonna be.
I'll add, I think this could continue for another day, but that, we don't have a set design. We haven't given Western that great of a direction. So we're just ballparking it until we are given a direction. And if you want us to bid it, we can. It was just an initiative brought to us years ago, and either you want us to do it or you don't. And we can continue to have conversations and processes if that's what you want us to do. But I think we've brought this to this board a number of times. So I think, in my opinion, that's a staff opinion. You either want us to do it or you don't.
Well, somebody came up with the figure of 350 apiece, was that you or was that Western?
I think that was Dean Crump asking us for community partners to contribute equally, which we found out isn't necessarily gonna get this done. It might not be $1 million. I mean, I just don't have a direction to go from there.
I guess what I'm hearing from the board here is we're in favor of some sort of modification and project, but it sounds like we're not comfortable with allocating $700,000 without any specific specifications. What is the bid process? Is there going to be a bid process? So I'm thinking to help manage that, we keep an item in the budget for it, but not 700,000. Or is the more practical thing to just, okay, bring us the project when it has more definition? I mean, we make it's just a single discussion. This is the project, this is the specifications, we decide that.
Well, I think the first step is get the design with blueprints that we want to get bids on. You can't just say, we want this sign, we're willing to pay we're gonna need to get down to specifics.
We are, and I'm gonna need that from you, because right now I don't have any money. You know, I'm gonna need some initiative here.
So that's a different, so to me, Randy, that's a little different in that, and I don't know that the city or council, who is owning the project, and what you just described is, we're owning the project. And
So I think if the city's contributing, they'll own the project.
They'll own
So
it.
if the city contributes if they contribute $5,
Yeah, they're
they'll
gonna
own the project.
And then it's just a request.
Yeah, they're gonna own it, but they're looking for us to pay the lion's share. So, I mean, if they get a design, the board doesn't agree on, we don't pay our lion's share. I mean, I want some exit strategy or some approval process. I don't think the city, other than tips, I don't know how much thought they put into it or how many I haven't seen all the designs. It seems like we had more the last time we talked about it. We had several different options.
8 years old, I think, designs. They're not, we don't have new ones.
We do,
No,
and
well,
you've
we
seen
shown them,
those,
yeah.
and then we kind
They've
of
seen
tabled
them.
it because y'all weren't aware of the full history of it.
Yep. Can we end up picking a specific design that we like and then get bids on it?
Yeah, to me, the ownership thing, to Brian's point is, if it's a city project and they own it, and they're asking us to contribute to it, yes, we should have some input on that, but I just don't know where that line starts and stops.
But if the city's gonna own it, they're gonna carry the ball, they're gonna pick the design, they're gonna do all that, then I wouldn't wanna give them a dime for it.
I don't agree with that. I would say, I find myself now just saying, okay, let's let the city own it, and we determine an amount that we're comfortable with contributing. And I mean, I just heard what you say, and I mean, I just would trust, they have the same responsibility and more to, in some ways, more to the public than we do in this regard, so to me, I put a level of trust in it that.
So one of the things that you could consider is approving an amount, whatever that amount is, and then appointing a committee to ramrod that expenditure, so that a committee is involved in the entire process.
Is working in concert with
the city.
Could we not appoint a committee to get to the details of all of it and then bring it back to the board and say, here's what we wanna do, or here's what the committee is recommending?
Well, I think
That's what I'm talking about.
Without us committing to a dollar amount today.
Gotcha what I'm saying, I got you.
I mean, if we agree to a dollar amount today, I mean, I think it, to me, it shows a sign that we're, you know, in favor of a project. And then if, you know, depending on what that project is, then, you know, we'd have the opportunity to say, okay, we amend this budget if, you know, if we need to put in, you know, if we approve 350,000 today and the, you know, we figure out later on that the project was gonna take more from the EDC to get completed, then we could amend the budget and say, okay, we're gonna put in X amount more to get this project to completion.
You can do that.
Well, I'd like to see a committee with a couple of guys off this board and a couple of people off the city, maybe going off the council, if Tips wants to be on it, but, you know, get some real input for a real project, instead of this guy that's not really known.
Yeah, it's very loosey-goosey right now.
Yeah.
There's nobody really in charge of it.
Deepak, do you guys, are you comfortable with the direction we're going?
Yeah, we need a sign, but you have to keep I-27 also.
Yeah, I heard
Because
that.
couple hoteliers upset that.
I heard that, yeah.
Maybe on that committee, we have a hotel there as well,
Yeah.
but if he's on the committee, he can represent them as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna summarize this and we can, I guess, we can make a single motion to kind of encompass this topic in addition to any other questions or budget.
We could.
Okay, so to summarize this conversation regarding the marketing budget and specifically the gateway signs is we are, as a board, comfortable and in agreement with something needs to be done, some sort of project. What we would like to have is more definition, clarity, some ownership if we're committing budget dollars to it. And then to show that commitment, we're gonna leave a budget item, a budget amount in there, some amount, and move this forward in a committee, with a committee. Am I summarizing everybody's
That's one way to do it.
interest? Yeah.
The other way is approve the budget without the 700 in it, and let's get the committee going. So it's one or the other. I see Brian's point, showing a little bit of commitment, but it's just so up in the air.
Okay.
If there's no dollars for design, then you're never gonna get anywhere. That's just my 2 cents worth. We'll be back here next year talking about the same
We
thing.
need to allocate some money for design. If we need to do that today, I'm all for that, but that shouldn't be that much. Believe it or not, most sign companies do the design for free because they want the business. We just happen to be dealing with a contractor who's more likely to sub this project out. You know, so there's just a lot of moving parts here. It doesn't have to be that complicated. We want 3 signs, Deepak wants 3 signs, you know, budgeted for 2.
Okay. Any other discussion about, is there any additional discussion about marketing and that line item specifically? And I don't wanna move too quickly, I mean, I cleared our calendar for the day.
Oh, God bless America.
No, it's an important, I mean, I don't say that facetiously, I mean, it's an important topic, and I don't wanna rush it.
But Holly, I appreciate you putting this together.
Of course.
Yeah, and this, and it's reality, because the nature of this board, this is the only time we get to have a real conversation about it, so it's important that it's given its attention and time, so. Perfectly fine. Okay, then, if there's not here, how about the remainder of the operating budget, project budgets, things of that sort?
Sure. Yeah, so real quickly, we're just gonna go through kind of the numbers pages that leads up then to the marketing budget. But so the first page under item 6, at the top of the page, it's 91100. That is our operational budget. We're anticipating the corporation, our base and what we're basing all of our revenue on is a $29 million year next year. Our operation budget is 12% of that. So that is $3.48 million in revenue from sales tax. We've got $360,000 penciled in for interest earnings, total revenue of $3.84 million. So the column that I'm going down is the highlighted column. So expenditures are all personnel, that's $1.375 million compared to last year's budget of $1.3175. That is just some increases in TMRS. Our actual salary and wages number goes down. Andreas's contract has a pay for performance component, so we have to budget for that. Health insurance, some of those components of personnel have gone up over year over year. Car allowance actually went down. So anyway, that's $1.375 million for personnel.
Does that, you mentioned add an additional person, is that?
It does, yeah. We've got actually budgeted 2 new positions. One that would be, Holly moved up and vacated a director's position. We had that budgeted last year. It's budgeted again for this year. And then another position under that person in business development. So we actually have 2 positions in business development, 2 new vacant positions in business development that are in this budget. This budget also includes, for your edification, a 4% increase, cost of living increase for everyone. Everyone, okay? Except y'all, actually, I've budgeted
4% of zeros.
I've budgeted 100% increase for you, Randy. 100%. Supplies, office supplies, that budget stayed the same. Office equipment, that budget stayed the same. Going on to the second page, you'll see expenses in general. Total expenditures $1.832685. Our budget last year was $1.84. So our operation budget is fractionally down less than 1/2%. Based on our revenue, that leaves us $2,007,315 worth of net income. That then, if we approve a $2 million marketing budget, wipes all that out except for $7,000. So we're $7,000 net income to the good in the operational budget. Then on the 4th page is 91120, that's TPRDC. As y'all are aware, under a contractual agreement, we make small business loans for real estate. 30% of my salary is paid out of this pot of money, and all of Andy Arias's salary is paid out of this. Anyway, $250,000 budget, which includes primarily the personnel is the biggest part of that, $195,250 out of the $250. plus some operational cost. Then we go to the project budget. That's 2 pages later, 91200 AEDC projects. Our budgeted revenue for sales tax, 88% of $29 million is $25.52 million. We have some other income, which is building rental. We rent a building to Bell Helicopter currently. We also rent a building to MWI. And then we'll have some interest income estimated at $2.4 million this year, which is a very conservative number. Total revenue, $28.47 million. In the AEDC project budget, we do have some operational costs as it relates to improvements, repair and maintenance on improvements that we own and repair and maintenance on land. That budget's $80,000 for the year. Then we've got utility, legal, property tax, bond interest payments, fiscal agent fees, and then it gets down into the very company-specific budget that we put forward for each company, which we have a deal with for the current, for next year. This is what we anticipate their performance to be and the payments that they might receive because of that performance.
We're given a quarter horse, 300,000 a year?
Yes, sir, for 10 years.
For 10 years, okay.
That was a retention project.
Right.
So that's $13.2 million in company projects. Then we have some other incentive projects, which includes our investment in Tiers 3. That totals $7.231 million. Total expenditures in the project budget, we're anticipating $21,231,753. That would give us a net income in that project budget of $7.2 million. So I'm happy to answer any questions about any of those numbers. I went through that pretty quick.
That 10 million for Albert.
Yes, sir.
It's there, we're not, we haven't done any, or what's?
Yeah, let me give you an update. So on Albers, our original agreement with them was $58 million. $8 million of it was upfront money, and they've achieved all of that. The remaining 50 was up for us to build a facility for them and them pay us rent on the backside after it's done. So it'd be an asset that we own that we lease to them. That part has been slowed down, but we expect about 10 million of that to be spent in the coming year.
When we lease properties we build, do we get to do it at a cap rate, or do we just get our costs back, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it depends. There's a couple of ways to do it. In this particular case, it's 2% over what the bonding rate would be. So they would be paying us whatever our cost is plus 2. Not all of our deals are like that, but in this particular case, that's the way it's structured.
Anything else, Ray?
No.
Okay. You had mentioned on the income side on projects, the interest income is projected conservatively.
Yes, sir.
Is that?
That's
I don't-
2.4% on 100 million in cash, basically.
And
We'll achieve better than that.
yeah, okay, because the prior year, that balance is
Yeah.
growing, and then prior years we recognized.
Yeah, and so, yeah, the interest rates have been very strange as of late, we'll just say, in the sense that they had really gone up, and then they had started tailing back down, and then more recently, they've kind of inched back up. And so, depending on what happens on a global scheme, we'll see movement in those rates. I really expect them to stay flat or go a little higher the rest of the year. and we'll see what next year brings. But we try to budget for that very conservatively, and so that's why you're seeing a $2.4 million entry there.
And then just to, I mentioned this earlier, you can see, I don't know if this is the entire difference, but on other, if you look at the subtotal of other project fund expenses, there's not a page number, but we're down, 278,000 reduction. That's, a big part of that is the shift to the marketing budget.
Yes,
Those
that's
dollars.
the 563 budgeted last year versus 285 in this year's budget, and those are almost entirely dollars that have been shifted into our marketing budget.
Okay. What other questions do we have? Board members? Okay. Well, good work, staff, and everybody putting this together. It's not a simple, task for sure. And so we're looking for, we want to approve and move this budget forward. It'll be presented to council also, so they have an opportunity for
Yes, sir.
questions and approve or deny the budget.
Yep.
Send it back to us. Contemplating our conversation about marketing and the sign specifically, we're looking for a motion to approve the budget with a modification to that dollar amount. Yes, and then I guess we can discuss the dollar amount, or we can vote on it and try again, or whatever.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the entire budget and back out to $700,000 for a later discussion, put a committee together.
That's the motion, is there a second for that? There's no second. So do we have, can we take another motion?
I make a motion that we approve this budget and, allow, $1.65 million for the marketing and business development budget to include $350,000 towards the construction of, signage as proposed.
Okay, is there a second? No second?
I would like to make another motion.
I believe so.
Well, I'd make a motion that we approve the entire budget and, leave 100,000 in there for, design, development, and all that towards these signs that we're talking about, possibly gonna put in. So it's gonna cost some money to get the design, it's just gonna have design.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that motion carries unanimously. All right, great discussion, board, I appreciate it. All right, moving on in the agenda, okay, great, staff and operational updates, financial updates, sorry.
I think the biggest point, we are hiring 2 persons back. We were a bigger team before I took on, so 2 persons, not 2 new jobs, but we are trying to bring people on so that we got a bigger team and we'll be going to a lot of trade shows and conferences all over the next year. We have some companies here. And the second point, we're talking to some PR companies who might help us to put Amarillo in a nicer light, to show what we have to offer from land development. So it's very early stage, but if you know any companies you'd recommend to us who might be a good fit, would be very much appreciated. Same with the job, if you know anybody who wants to join our team and make Amarillo better, please also spread the word. And perfect, last update, I think also the good discussion. I think when you came here with the marketing side, we thought that's a big point, which which has been here with a similar number before, but we weren't sure, so I think it's good to go back and forth and come up with an idea how it can look and what we could improve, so much appreciated.
Good deal about the PR firm, I don't think it's a bad idea really, but I don't think you're gonna find them here in Amarillo. I think it's gonna have to be somebody more on the national level, and I don't know how expensive that's gonna be, but I think they need some, can't just do somebody from a local agency or something. But I like that, I think.
Yeah, I'm good with that as well.
There's also some additional financial information in your packet under item 7. We do have financials to review. These are through the first 6 months ending March 31st, 2026. We have balance sheet, which is page 3. Project fund has approximately $89 million worth of cash as of in March. Total, both pots of money is $98 million worth of cash. So just right at $100 million worth of cash. So you know where those numbers are coming from. Liabilities, 13.7 in current liabilities, 28.1 million in total liabilities. Total fund equity, $123.7 million. On page 5 is your income statement for both the operating fund and the project fund. Obviously, sales tax has been very good this year, but we're showing operating income in both funds through the first 6 months, $722,000 worth of operating income in the operating fund and $10.8 million worth of operating income in the project fund. Then on page 6, it is our operating fund compared to our budget for this year. Total expenses were a little over $1 million through the first 6 months. The annual budget is 2.7, so we're at 37% of budget on expenses. And then, of course, page 7, which is always the most interesting page of our financials, which shows each project, what the original project was, what the prior year payments were, what the current year budget is, what our year-to-date payments to those businesses have been, and then what our future commitments are. Through March 31st, our future commitments total $93.2 million. So all of that, very interesting. Y'all can certainly pull that out of your packets and take it with you, and if y'all want to dive into it further. From a sales tax perspective, the next page is the July 26 top 20 sales and use tax comparison summary. Amarillo sits 3rd in the state in the MSAs. We were up year over year this month by 13.87%. That ranked us 3rd. So year to date, we're up 11.77%. Economy is very strong in Amarillo. An interesting note at the bottom of that page is the single local rate collections. That's basically online purchases. Year over year, we're up 36% in that payment alone. So people are continuing to buy from the Amazons of the world. And so that equates to almost $7.2 million worth of taxable sales in that month. The next page in your packet is just kind of an explanation of what each month's payment was to the city of Amarillo. The percent numbers are all the same, but we're way over budget projections for this fiscal year. So it's been a great year from a sales tax perspective. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about any of that stuff.
I have a question on page 2. I don't see our Andreas on it as a staff member, is that just?
He wasn't, as of March 31st, Andreas was, you know, he did not exist as of March 31st, so,
Okay, well, that's my own question.
yeah,
Good
that's
president.
why that's like that.
And I think, Randy's pointing that out, one thing I think I noted it and I just forgot, so we're halfway through the year on this financial
Yes, sir.
March, but only paid 37% of our budgeted expenses.
That's correct.
And I didn't do the math, is a large portion of that salaries and wages? Is that- 'cause I
No,
was expecting to be closer to 15.
that didn't really lower for us until April, and then Andreas started in May. So that's not why we have not spent as much as our business development budget as we typically would, because we were, I'll call it, very shorthanded.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, business development, I see that, the budget 650, 150 spent, gotcha.
Yeah, I stopped traveling in November.
Oh, why? Okay, any other questions from staff or operational financial? No, appreciate it. Okay, yeah, good work, guys, thank you. And then, here we go, winding down, number 8, establish the date and time of the next board meeting. We're looking to establish, to remind the board, we're looking to establish a rhythm. We understand that booking in the future can create some potential absences. We're looking to get some regularity and hopefully consistency on meeting times and days.
What would be our normal?
September 17th, which is a Thursday.
Yeah, we're looking at Thursdays at 9, opposite of city council. Opposite.
The week in between the two city council meetings.
Okay, what day of the week is that?
That's Thursday, the 17th. September 17th.
I should be able to be there. Got a hip surgery on the 21st.
Good.
All right. I'm here the 17th.
They're gonna fix you up.
Don't finally fix me up. Yeah.
That's a good deal.
It's good for me.
Deepak, good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we will have our next board meeting September 17th at 9 a.m. No other business to discuss, we will be adjourned at 12:17 p.m.
3 hours, right?
Yeah, that's not bad. I was budgeting for it.
Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Thank you, take care, bud.
Be good.